Dragon-type Pokémon in Pokémon Legends ZA are on a whole different level. These are the heavy hitters, the giants, the species everyone either dreams of catching or fears facing. Between their monstrous stats, flashy signature moves, and the fact that many of them are pseudo-legendaries or straight-up legendaries, it's no wonder they dominate so many battles. But of course, even powerhouses have weaknesses, and dragon types definitely feel the burn from Ice and Fairy. And, let's be honest, nothing stings more than throwing out your strongest dragon move only for a fairy type to shrug it off like it's nothing. If you want to rise above all that and become a true dragon master, you're in the right place. In this video, we're diving into the absolute best dragon-type Pokémon in Legends ZA, breaking down what makes them so strong, how to train them perfectly, and which movesets truly bring out their full potential. Whether you're gearing up for PvP, preparing for tough PvE challenges, or just want your team to look intimidating, this guide has everything you need. Let's get into it. I'm quickly moving on to the video. Before we start, if you enjoy these types of list videos, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Enjoy watching! Zygarde is one of those legendary Pokémon that instantly makes you sit up and go, "Oh, this thing means business." As the cover legendary of Pokémon Legends ZA, it is treated like the final word in Dragon-type power, and honestly, it earns that reputation. Even though it is banned from most endgame and player versus player modes because of how overwhelming it is, that does not change the simple truth. In this game, Zygarde is the strongest Dragon-type Pokémon you can get your hands on. And yes, that is before it even starts transforming. What makes Zygarde especially fun is that every one of its forms actually feels impressive. The 10% form, already a powerhouse that hits much harder than it looks like it should. Once you upgrade it to 100% Form A, it basically becomes a giant biomechanical kaiju stomping across the battlefield. Then you add Mega Evolution on top, and things get absolutely ridiculous. With the Zygardeite Megastone, which you obtain during the final mission of the main story, Zygarde's already high 700 plus base stats get pushed close to 800. For context, that officially puts it above Arceus. Yes, that Arceus. Because most of Zygarde's signature attacks are physical, you will get the best results by building it around that strength. A spread of 252 points in health, 252 points in attack, and 4 points in special defense, combined with an impish nature, helps you squeeze out maximum value. Moves like Thousand Arrows and Thousand Waves let you control the whole battlefield, while Land's Wrath gives you consistent damage, and Core Enforcer lets you fire off a devastating special attack when you need a big finisher. It is one of those rare Pokémon where its toolkit just feels right from the moment you start using it. Getting Zygarde is not something you do casually though. First, you have to complete the entire main story. Then the after-story questline, Infinite AZ Royale, opens up. After you win 5 rounds, Lysandre appears and starts talking about the one who gives and the one who takes. Completing both of those quests sets up the final challenge. Finding Zygarde deep in Wild Zone 20. Beat it in a one-on-one battle and you earn the right to catch one of the most powerful Dragon-type Pokémon ever created. And honestly, it feels like the perfect reward for the journey you just went through. Garchomp is one of those Dragon-type Pokémon that seems to have been designed specifically to make both player versus environment and player versus player battles feel unfair, in your favor. In Pokémon Legends ZA, it is easily one of the strongest and most reliable dragon types you can add to your team. With a fully optimized build using 252 points in health, 252 points in attack, and 4 points in special defense, plus an adamant nature, Garchomp becomes a physical powerhouse that sweeps through most of the main story. And once it Mega Evolves, things get wild in the best possible way. Mega Garchomp is everything players love about the original, just dialed up until the meter snaps. With one of the highest physical attack stats in the entire game, it can one-shot almost anything that does not resist it. The only exceptions are a couple of extremely bulky targets like Drampa. Even then, Garchomp still hits harder than almost any other dragon type in Pokémon Legends ZA. Its recommended moveset, Fire Fang, Earthquake, Dragon Claw, and Dragon Rush, gives you coverage, consistent damage, and priority. Same type attack bonus pressure in almost every matchup. Once it starts tearing through opponents, it is hard to stop. Of course, Mega Garchomp is not invincible. It does have a few natural enemies. Pokémon like Xerneas, Mega Clefable, and Drampa can take it down with the right timing. Still, the fact that Garchomp outspeeds most other dragon types in the game means it usually gets the first hit, and that first hit is almost always the one that matters. Mega Evolution pushes its base stats even further, turning Garchomp into a brutal, high-speed wrecking ball that dominates both casual battles and competitive ranked play. Getting your hands on a Garchomp is a bit of a journey, though. It all starts with catching a Gible, which appears in Wild Zone 8. The problem? Gible is ridiculously rare in this area, so you might spend a while tracking one down, but once you find one and start training it, the payoff is absolutely worth it. Garchomp will carry you through the main story with ease, and a fully trained, properly built Garchomp becomes one of the deadliest Pokemon you can bring into ranked battles. If you are looking for the best Dragon type for both story content and competitive battles, this is the one. Mega Charizard X is one of those Pokemon that never really left the spotlight. The moment it debuted as one of the very first Mega Evolutions, it immediately became a terror in competitive battles. In Pokemon Legends ZA, that legacy continues. Once Charizard transforms into its Mega form, all of its physical attacker traits are amplified, turning it into a fiery, dragon-like juggernaut that absolutely refuses to be ignored. With an optimized build of 252 points in health, 252 in special attack, and 4 in special defense, it hits hard from the moment it enters the field. One of the most interesting details about Mega Charizard X is the change in typing. Losing its flying type gives it a major defensive advantage, especially against electric-type attacks that would normally ruin a standard Charizard's day. And while it might not have the same overwhelming raw stats as some of the newer Mega Evolved pseudo-legendaries, it remains one of the most consistently dangerous threats you can bring into a ranked battle. If Mega Charizard X gets a clean hit with Dragon Claw or Flare Blitz, very few Pokemon walk away from it. Its recommended moveset highlights just how flexible this Mega Evolution is. Dragon Claw gives you reliable Dragon-type pressure, while Flamethrower and Flare Blitz keep your Fire-type identity front and center. Thunder Punch rounds things out by giving you a surprise coverage move that opponents often forget about until it is too late. And with the Charizardite X available for purchase at the Stone Emporium for 100,000, powering it up is straightforward once you have the money. Getting Mega Charizard X onto your team is fairly simple, but it depends on how early you want it. If players complete Side Mission 22, they can obtain a Charmander surprisingly early in the game. If they skip that though, they will need to wait until the post-game and head into Wild Zone 20 to catch one there. Either way, once you finally evolve it and unlock Mega Evolution, you are rewarded with one of the most iconic and most dangerous Fire and Dragon-type Pokemon in the entire series. Salamence has always been one of those Dragon-type Pokemon that just feels incredibly satisfying to use. In Pokemon Legends ZA, that feeling is stronger than ever. With great natural speed, powerful physical attack stats, and a surprisingly deep selection of coverage moves, Salamence easily earns its place among the top Dragon types in the game. If you build it with 252 points in attack, 252 points in speed, and 4 points in defense plus an adamant nature, you get a monster that hits fast and hits hard. When it Mega Evolves, Salamence becomes even more dangerous. Mega Salamence gains a huge boost to its physical attack and its defenses, which turns it into a high-speed bruiser that controls the flow of battle. The meta in Legends ZA has shifted toward a more close-range melee-focused style, but Salamence adapts well. Most players stick with Dragon Rush, Dragon Claw, and Outrage for pure pressure, but running Flamethrower instead of Dragon Rush can be a smart move when you expect Ice-type threats like Mega Froslass. A little distance damage goes a long way in the right matchup. The best part is that Mega Salamence is fast enough to win the speed race most of the time. 2 out of 3 battles, you will simply act first and clear the field before your opponents can react. Outrage and Dragon Claw are your bread and butter tools, and once Mega Salamence gets rolling, it is extremely hard to slow down. Its combination of speed, raw power, and flexible coverage makes it one of the most reliable Dragon-type sweepers you can bring into player versus player matches. As for getting one, players have a couple of options. You can go the traditional route and catch a Bagon, evolve it into Shelgun, and eventually into Salamence. Or if you want to skip the leveling grind, you can head to Wild Zone 15 and try to capture an Alpha Salamence instead. Whichever path you choose, you end up with a Pokemon that shines in both the main story and ranked battles, especially once you unlock its Mega Evolution using the Salamence site from Quasartico Incorporated. Dragonite has always been one of those Pokemon that feels almost unfair to use. In Pokemon Legends ZA, that reputation definitely continues, even with the developers trying their best to tone it down. Dragonite was already absurdly strong, so instead of giving it a massive upgrade through Mega Evolution, the developers actually shifted its stats in a way that feels more like a gentle nerf. Mega Dragonite loses physical attack power and gains special attack instead, which is not exactly what most Dragonite fans wanted. Still, it gets boosts in defense, special defense, and speed, so the transformation is far from useless. If you want to stick with what Dragonite has always been best at, physical damage, you absolutely still can. A pure physical build with 252 points in health, 252 in attack, and an adamant nature works exactly the way you expect. Thunder Punch and Fire Punch give you solid coverage, Dragon Claw keeps things stable, and Outrage lets you delete anything unfortunate enough to stand in your way. Extreme Speed is practically mandatory in the current meta since it acts as a gap closer and guarantees that Dragonite gets the first hit when it matters most. Now, if you want to experiment a little, Dragonite's new Mega Evolution actually opens the door for a pretty interesting special attacker build. You would need to swap your nature to Modest and fully lean into the special attack stats that Mega Dragonite provides. Moves like Hyper Beam, Draco Meteor, Ice Beam, and Focus Blast give you a surprising amount of destructive power. It is a riskier style of play, but when it works in spectacular fashion, especially if you're trying to catch opponents who assume you are running the classic physical setup. To get your hands on a Dragonite, you will need to start with its first stage, Dratini. Luckily, in Pokemon Legends ZA, you can actually get a Dratini pretty early. Head to the rooftop of Restaurant Lana, down on the southeastern side of Lumiose near Vert Sector 6, and you will find one waiting. Train it up, evolve it, and eventually you can challenge the Rogue Mega Dragonite to earn the Dragonite Mega Stone. Once that is done, you will have one of the strongest and most iconic Dragon types in the series, ready to dominate both the story and ranked battles. Drampa is one of those Dragon-type Pokémon that looks harmless at first glance, but the moment you try it in Pokemon Legends ZA, you realize it hits way harder than it has any right to. It is not a pseudo-legendary, and even after Mega Evolving, it still does not reach the stat total usually expected from one, but that does not stop it from being an absolute menace. Its special attack skyrockets when it becomes Mega Drampa, turning this gentle-looking normal and Dragon type into a full-on glass cannon. Because its speed is painfully low, Drampa is not the type of Pokemon you send charging into the middle of the battlefield. A pure special attack spread with 252 points in health, 252 in special attack, and a modest nature lets it do exactly what it was built for, firing off massive long-range attacks before anyone gets too close. Draco Meteor and Hyper Beam are the bread and butter of this build. You will not be outrunning anything, so your best bet is to plant your feet, position safely, and let those high-damage special moves tear through anyone who wanders into range. You have to treat Drampa like a sniper. Keep it away from the close-range chaos where physical attackers dominate, because once something fast gets in its face, Drampa cannot dodge or reposition quickly enough to survive. But if you play around its limitations and allow it to stay in the backline, Mega Drampa becomes shockingly reliable. Most players underestimate it due to its low speed, and that is exactly when the Draco Meteor and Hyper Beam combo deletes their health bars. To get your own Drampa, you will need to wait until Wild Zone 19 unlocks after completing Main Mission 30. That is where Drampa naturally appears, and it is also the only place you can find an Alpha Drampa if you want a perfect endgame version. The tricky part is that Alpha Drampa does not spawn consistently. You have to make it respawn repeatedly until you get the one you want. Once you finally secure one and pick up the Dramponite from Quasartico Incorporated for 360 Mega Shards, you will be ready to unleash one of the most unexpectedly powerful special attackers in all of Pokemon Legends ZA. The video ends here. See you in another video. Don't forget to subscribe.